Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch this podcast. It is me, Omar Shanti Burger, Omar Shanti Borja, the Burger Popper. Man, I've lost my fastball today. It's been a long day and everything. Just baby didn't sleep well, but still smiling, still here talking about college football. With a new guest, we got Zach from the Michigang Sports, who just recently did. We connected over a recent interview and podcast that he did with Army's great slot back and pro prospect Noah Short, who just had a great year, just participated in the American Bowl. Zach did amazing work with that interview, so go listen to it. I'll drop the link to his channel and that specific interview in the description. But discussing today, I mean, I couldn't think of a better person to discuss this, given the name of his podcast, the Michigang Sports Podcast. We're here just to talk about a recent game, just moved to Ford Field for the next 2 seasons. So Zach, how's everything going?
Going great. Thank you for welcoming on. Glad to be on. Really appreciate the kind words as well. Noah Short, great guy. Great conversation. Really appreciate you watching that. Really appreciate you shouting out, and really appreciate you again having me on. It truly means a lot. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this game. Obviously, it's a move that I think, depending on the person, really kind of depending on even the players as well. This is kind of a move that you've been truly seeing a little bit when it comes to college football, just college athletics as a whole, a little bit of a more neutral site kind of games. And I think there's good things and bad things about this, because I think there's a few things in college football that are left that truly, in my opinion, kind of brings back the true like college football, like not like the more modern style. And I think one of those things is rivalries, right? I think rivalries should be absolutely protected. I personally think that rivalries should be at home fields. I think they should be at, like, I think Eastern Michigan should play at Eastern Michigan. Central should play at Central. Now, I can go into a little bit more why I think there's some good things with this, but I think this is kind of a little bit more of the modern type of football that we're seeing. And then there's other things that I like that's kind of still sticking around a little bit. Army Navy, one of my favorite games as well. So there's traditional things that I think should stay the same. But this move is interesting. It's definitely interesting. I do know it does seem like the players are really excited about it. I reached out to one player and basically said, looks like you're going to be going to Ford Field. And he's like, heck yeah. So I can't speak for the whole team. I don't know everyone on the team. I'm not really that well connected with the team, but at least the one player is excited, which I think is the most important part, is that the players are excited. I'm going to be interested to talk a little bit more about my thoughts on this, why it's good, why it's not, and just kind of how this truly is really kind of the college landscape that we're getting to.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, you set the stage well for our discussion. So, if you weren't aware, either last week or a couple weeks ago, I forgot the date that it actually happened. But a little teaser for the 2026 MAC schedule dropped, where Eastern Michigan will be playing Central Michigan in at Ford Field.
Yeah.
One of the legs of the Michigan MAC Trophy rivalry. Of course, Western Michigan's out there in Kalamazoo. And this game, I mean, it's natural, I think, to move this game to Ford Field, honestly, just with both teams, of course, being in Michigan. But I think a good side of this, I guess we'll start with a good. Something that I enjoy about this move, or something I guess that makes sense about it, is the fact that it's a midweek game anyways. It's not going to be on
Yeah.
campus, and midweek action, and then now, of course, with conference or Tuesday weekday Conference USA.
Yeah.
Um, it's notoriously not great for local fan bases, for students particularly as well. And so it's a way to kind of put a silver lining on it, just putting this game in Detroit, in a game that wouldn't be accessible to a fan base, because Ypsilanti is, I want to say 30 to 40 minutes. Of course, you're from Michigan.
Yeah.
30 to 40 minutes from Detroit. So like a lot of those fans in Detroit, a lot of the alumni, in Detroit wouldn't be able to see Eastern Michigan play, and definitely not Central Michigan. Central Michigan's over an hour away out of Mount Pleasant. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna affect the student turnout anyways, like, why not bring the game closer to alumni bases and kind of give like a big time feel with it too, especially for Eastern Michigan, who, sadly, as many know, is the only team in the MAC that has not appeared in the MAC championship game ever.
Yeah.
Even like, yeah, just period.
Yeah.
So that's my take on, I guess, silver lining on it.
Yeah, no, I think you're correct. I think the whole idea of the fan base is a big part of why it's good, right? Because I think you're going to have a lot more fans, a lot more families that are probably going to want to go to Ford Field, right? Like it's inside. Usually, Maction kind of this game is a little bit later, so typically the weather isn't necessarily the best. Now that's why I personally love Maction is because it's in the middle of the week, maybe not the best weather. I That's why I truly love Maction a little bit more. I tune into action all the time. Like I love these games. Obviously, another big rivalry. I know we're not going to talk about this is Central Western, and I just I, I can see why this game moved to Detroit. I don't want to talk, and I'm not going to talk bad about like Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan at all. But like if this was Central Western, I think there would be maybe a little bit more of like people kind of upset about it because that's a little bit more of a bigger rivalry. But there's obviously a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams. And yeah, like you specifically mentioned, Eastern Michigan historically hasn't been a team that has obviously made it to the MAC championship. They haven't been a team historically that has made it to a lot of bowl games. Now you have to give Coach Creighton a ton of credit. Like in my opinion, he's probably the best head coach Eastern Michigan has ever had. If you just look at record, if you look at his bowl appearances, like historically he's right up there. And then obviously you have Coach Strinkle as well doing great things first year at Central, had a winning record, was right there for the MAC as well for an opportunity to get to the MAC championship. And now they're both going to get an opportunity to play there. And I think the really unique and good thing about it as well is the players are going to get to play at Ford Field. Right. Like I know a lot of players dream about playing in the NFL. I know a lot of players dream about playing at NFL venues. And this is obviously the Detroit Lions home. And for a lot of teams, they don't get that opportunity. Now, if you do play high school football in Michigan and go to the state championship, you do play at Ford Field, so you do get the opportunity. But for a lot of people, they don't get this opportunity. So I think the players are going to be really excited about it. I think the fan bases are going to be a little excited about it. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of a little bit more of a traditional with some sort of stuff. So there's a little bit side of me that I like it. I like that the players are happy. I like the fans are happy, but that's why I kind of said one of the negatives is I like Max and I like rivalries being at home. So there's good and bad things about it. I think it's more positive than negative. As long as the players want to be there, as long as the players are excited for it, I think that's the biggest thing because I think it should be about the players, and the players seem, for the most part, at least the one I talked to, seemed really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I stand with your point of view with the players too, where it's like as long as they are approve of the move, are excited about it, then there really isn't much I guess I can argue with.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's interesting. You brought up Central versus Western too. I think just the fact that Western's is so far, like I didn't realize how far Kalamazoo was from Detroit. I don't think we'd really see Central versus Western at Ford Field. But
Oh,
yeah, like I mean, I think that's a great point though about the rivalries. As long as like we're not doing it a lot, I don't mind a change of pace with like series like this too, where it's like something unique. Because in a way, it kind of recognizes the importance and kind of gravity of a series like this, like Central
yeah.
versus Western, or sorry, Central versus Eastern. So I kind of don't mind it too. And plus, honestly, like everything's about money nowadays. Like I think that Eastern Michigan and Central Michigan, especially Central Michigan, to give up a home game almost 80 miles away in Detroit next year or whatever year it was on the rotation,
Yeah.
this year or the next year. Like, I think that they definitely got a good amount of money to do this. And I think part of that, I think they can thank, honestly, Michigan State the past few years for this happening because Ford Field had, of course, the games in Michigan State, and on Black Friday weekend, especially like the notorious. I got to find a different word other than notorious, but the alleged NBC, kind of strong arming Michigan State to move the land grant trophy game back in 23 to
Yeah.
NBC or to Ford Field just to accommodate Big Ten Friday night on Black Friday. So I mean I think it's great to see a trend like this. And frankly, from a broader perspective, with all these stadiums being funded by public money, I think we should see more of this too, where it's like let these stadiums actually benefit more fan bases, more local residents, because I mean, not to get too much into civics and too much into, fiscal policy or, government, yeah, fiscal policy. Like a
Yeah.
lot of these stadiums are just a lot of taxpayers and fans are getting hosed with these stadiums. So like, honestly, like the owners and stuff, the franchises, like whoever's operating these stadiums should move more college games like this, should provide more fan bases in their schools with like big time opportunities too. Because the last point I'll make before I kick it back to you, like if you look at the bowl games that the Group of Five usually goes to, I think only one of them or two of them, only two of them are in a NFL stadium, the Gasparilla Bowl
Yeah.
and Ford Field. Otherwise, like if you're in the Group of Five, the best that you can get is a game at another school's campus or a game at a
Hmm.
historic stadium like the Liberty Bowl if you're lucky in the American Conference, or the Independence Bowl, when it comes to bowl games. So it's like, I mean, I want to see more of these stadiums, more of these cities kind of paying um, favorable deals for the Group of Five to like move games to NFL stadiums.
Yeah, and I truly think it also really depends on the teams, right? Because you mentioned Michigan State, and I know there are some Michigan State fans that were really excited, especially the ones that were in Detroit, right? Like they don't get to go to East Lansing too often, but I also know some season ticket holders were not very happy whatsoever about this move. And I think it truly kind of depends, one, on the fan base, but also just kind of the game as well, which I think is again kind of leading back towards a little bit of the positive and negatives about it. Is you're going to have some fans that are going to absolutely love this, and you're going to see fans that are going to go to Detroit and support it. But then there's going to be the opposite side of it. There's going to be donors. There's going to be those fans that go to every single game that is losing a home game, right? And you have to travel a far ways to go to that game, or like it's not like a part of like your tickets. Like I think there's obviously positives and negatives about both of these moves, and at the end of the day, it's like you specifically mentioned, it's about making money. That's what college athletics is nowadays. We don't have to go into the transfer portal. We don't have to go into the NIL, that stuff. But like if you talk about both of these teams, there's a lot of these teams like a Central or Eastern Michigan that like the best players leave, right? Like they go to Power Four schools. Like that's just the way it is. And I think it's just hard because it's hard for fans to continue to like buy in almost every single year because these teams are brand new for the most part. Like there's some guys that are going to be back that you'll remember, like Noah Kim will be back next year for Eastern Michigan. That's a really big deal for Eastern Michigan. Obviously, the coaching staff's going to continue to be there, but like these teams are new every single year. They're losing 20, 30, 40 guys at times. And it's just an interesting way of doing it. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a smart idea. But I think stuff like this, especially the transfer portal, moving some of these games, while it can be good for some people, I do wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a negative connotation with that as well. And you might lose some more people as well because of that. I think it's more positive overall. But like again, like if let's say for example, Michigan State, Michigan moved to Detroit, there would be uproar. There would be complete uproar about it. I don't think people in Detroit would be happy, but I don't think anyone else would be happy. But that's a little bit of a different situation and game than Eastern Michigan Central, even though it is a rivalry and both of these teams don't necessarily like each other too much. I think it just depends on the situation. I think this situation makes sense for both of these teams to at least do it for a couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. Like what you mentioned with the transfer portal. I think it just boils down to just finding reasons for fans to get excited and just keep, being fans and keep engaging with the product that's on the field or the pro or whatever the program puts out. Because that's what it
Yeah.
is. Like whatever the program puts out each year. Like and it's made our jobs harder, or our work harder. As people that want to cover the game. with these rosters and the turnover, it's hard, frankly, just to be excited, um, for some of these rosters, for some of these schools, just because it's just a complete turnover. I mean, it's
Yeah,
hard too for casual fans too, and like the thing that I point to, casual fans are fans just getting into the game. Like I point to my mom who only started following football like after I was in high school, and after I moved out, she's follows the New Mexico Lobos gradually, or a little bit here and there, casual. She'll root for them, but I had to tell her, like, just be prepared for a completely different team than this year to trot out onto that field. And I can just
yeah,
imagine, like, if you have only followed this team for a few years, like, it's hard to even build a fan base with that. So like I feel like games like these are good just to keep fans excited, honestly. Where it's like, not as much, a particular player, seeing a particular player play in an NFL stadium, but more like seeing the colors represented. Because that's, I guess, all it is, just like every year people wear the colors of, the schools you like, and,
yeah.
seeing those colors represented in an NFL stadium.
Yeah, and you're also going to see more people probably at Ford Field than, let's say, the weather's bad in Mount Pleasant or Ypsilanti. Like, no one's going to show up for those games, but I'm also someone, like I said, a little bit more traditional. Like when Central played Western a few years ago, and it's just a complete snowstorm. Like to me, that's like perfect football. Like I love that type of football. But most fans at the end of the day wouldn't go to a game like that. So, like I said, I think there's more positives about this move. I think you're going to continue to see these moves. And as long as the players are excited and as long as the fans show up, I think this is a move that will end up working for both of these teams. And do I think it should be something that goes on for a long time? Do I think this should be at Ford Field every single year? No, but if like it's a unique thing that you do every once in a while, and it's a cool opportunity to go to Detroit, spend money in Detroit, get to experience Detroit a little bit more, which I think is a great city in itself. It's a good thing for both of these schools. And I think at the end of the day, the positives outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been to Detroit once. I enjoyed it. I really want to go to either a Game Above Sports Bowl, MAC Championship, or even this game.
Yeah,
Hopefully when things get less hectic. So yeah, I think it's great. It's great for tourism too, honestly, because I feel like
yeah,
most sports fans aren't huge into tourism. So like most of like my exposure to cities is through football, like watching on TV and like discovering, just through a Google search, like, hey, for instance, like Birmingham has this that I can go to, and whatnot. So at that point on, experiencing Detroit is great.
yeah.
Um, I think so. The last point I'll make, and last kind of question, just to discuss. So like looking at nearby schools to Ford Field, I kind of wonder if like this is kind of like a 2 year experimental phase, for Ford Field. Um, you look at the schools that are nearby, particularly Toledo, Bowling Green. Those schools are, Bowling Green is 84 miles away. Kentucky, or Toledo is 55 miles away. Um, but both host Power Four teams in the coming years, and I think with the
Yep.
way that things are going with on conference schedules, with at least the Big Ten and the SEC, which I'd have to look at how Kentucky's schedule looks in 2028. I assume that maybe they scheduled 4 games as is, and they have to eliminate a game. I
Okay.
can't help but think that a lot of these road games at MAC schools for Power Four schools are going to either be given the ultimatum that Memphis was given back in 2023 against Missouri, excuse me, where, okay, move this game to an NFL stadium in our state, or an NFL stadium in general, or be prepared to cancel your home end. So with that, I want to ask, like, I guess, what do you think about that notion with like these two nearby schools close to Ford Field, with Toledo hosting Kentucky in 2028 and Bowling Green hosting Iowa State in 2027, which it may be less feasible in 2027 since, again, Eastern Michigan plays Central that year at Ford Field. But I mean, do you see either of those schools moving a game like this to or their Power Four home games to Ford Field?
I, I hope not. Can I see it? Yes, but do I think it makes sense? No. I understand that there's these schools nearby, right? But in my mind, like I think Ford Field should be kept to teams from the state of Michigan. Personally, I think it would be a little weird to have like Toledo come up to Ford Field and play a game. Now, if Ford Field wants a college football game to be played, do I think Ford Field, do I think the Fords are going to say no to it? No, absolutely not. I think the Fords would probably be happy about that. But I don't see it, or at least I hope it doesn't happen. I know, obviously, like we talked a little bit about, like you're starting to see more of these rivalry games, these games that are moving to neutral sites. Like for example, like Georgia Tech is at the is a neutral site game. Um, that's just the way it is. I would be a little surprised if it happened, but at the end of the day, also like, what aren't we surprised about with everything that's going on? I can specifically talk about one thing on college basketball, but I won't talk about college basketball on this one. But yeah, I would be surprised, but at the end of the day, like there's nothing that surprises me. So if it does happen, I can see it, but I hope it doesn't. I truly hope it doesn't. But if there's an ultimatum, it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the day.
Yeah, so just looking at Kentucky's schedule in 2027, 2028, because I should have done that, honestly. Along with that, like they have four non-conference games scheduled, so I really do think the home and home against Toledo, sadly, is on the chopping block.
Probably.
Because yeah, they have like Kentucky has Ball State, FCS team, and of course the Commonwealth Cup against Louisville. 2028, Kent State, Eastern Illinois, Louisville, which they'll have three non-conference home games in all likelihood, which means they'll probably have a solid crisp eight home games, or maybe seven. Maybe the SEC just gives them four. But they'll have three non-conference home games. So sadly, I think that's on the chopping block. But I do think with some of these series, where if it comes down to it, where it's like one, I guess, say a Power Four team has to chop either, I guess, a home or road group of five game from their schedule. I think it's going to come down to, okay, do you have an NFL stadium
Yeah.
nearby that we can play this game in and make money off of it? Because otherwise, we're just going to cancel. We'll buy you out, and it's a sad trend in college football in the group of five, and you kind of see the less crossover we have. I feel like over time, the more easy it gets. Which I'm holding out hope that all rumors of a breakaway are not true exaggeration. But when you see things like that happen, when you see like the gradual cancellation of these games, and as an Army fan,
Yeah.
like this is a part of our life. Like I can think that we're on like a streak for a few years where teams just kept buying us out. Or like 2022. 2022, it was Tennessee. Tennessee bought us out in 22. And then in 2023, I think it was like Ball State or someone bought us out. So like we had to play two FCS teams, so it's like I understand it's a business. I understand that everyone
Yeah.
else has their own ends. But yeah, like I think using NFL stadiums like Ford Field as a bargaining chip might help kind of, slow the flood a little bit. Might be a way to put our finger in the dam a little bit before it bursts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Also, at the end of the day, too, like if you're an SEC school, we know that SEC loves to play easy non-conference games though as well. So we know SEC schools like to have some easy games throughout the year to make the college football playoffs. So if it does get cut, doesn't necessarily surprise me, or if they find a way to schedule another quote unquote easier game like against an Akron, against a Toledo. Not like going up against like a Missouri or anything. I think the SEC schools would be completely fine with that, because the SEC, Indiana, especially in the Big Ten, loves scheduling easier opponents. I know there's a little bit of complaining about that, but we don't have to get into that. So it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the day, but also I think you're going to stop seeing huge matchups also as well in the near future, which I think is sad.
Yeah, it is sad too that it's just more about, okay, how do we have the path of least resistance in the Power Four to make the playoff, honestly, which takes away
Yeah,
from cool moments. Like I know Miami was really good at this. Like I think they went to Appalachian State, they went to Toledo, a few years back, and even Oklahoma. Oklahoma has been really good about visiting, going to the group of five, which like they still owe Army a game from the pandemic. But it is what it is. It's probably never getting made up. I mean,
Probably.
sadly, but that like the intention was there had there not been a globe altering pandemic. But it's
Yeah,
just sad, like you said, like these matchups, like these huge blockbuster matchups, and more so these kind of like once in a generation events for these group of five programs where it's like you'd have schools come into your neighborhood, even as an Army fan too. Like when I was in high school, when I was in high school, Wake Forest and Duke were always came to Mikey Stadium, and that's probably never happening. I don't want to say again, but with the way things are, like it's highly unlikely that those schools that Duke, if they do agree to a game, Duke or Wake Forest, if they do agree to a game, with Army, it's going to be a one-off. Like, I mean, Wake
probably.
Forest even bought us out this year. Even that game was supposed to be at Winston-Salem, so
Yeah.
it's just a sign of the times.
Yeah, that's why we have to appreciate these types of rivalries. Like we have Eastern Michigan Central happening at Ford Field. We have to appreciate these things and have to continue to watch, support both of these teams. And I truly think this is still going to be a fun game, even though there's some negatives to it. There's positives for those moves as well. And really hope that both of these schools get a positive out of it, get a little bit of money, get a little bit of support. Hopefully, it's going to be a good rivalry game. I know Central's kind of dominated the rivalry a little bit. Central was able to get the win earlier this year as well. So Eastern won last year, and we'll see what happens next year as well. But that's why we have to appreciate these things, appreciate these small little rivalries. And it looks like it's going to be happening at Ford Field in the next few years.
Yeah, exactly. The next 2 years, exactly. And I mean, man, I just love. I know we didn't talk much about Central Michigan scheme, what Matt Drinkall is doing there, but man, the power spread works. Honestly,
Love it.
I love the scheme. I love the Maryland die. Sometimes I saw them pull it
Yeah.
out a few times this past year. So man, Central Michigan, honestly, if you need a group of five team, to start watching to root for, man, like Central Michigan's easy to
Oh,
root
yeah.
for because that's old fashioned football too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I could talk about Central Michigan. I could talk about Drinko. I could talk about Eastern Michigan for at least another hour and a half. But I know you have a busy schedule, so I will spare you that time. But I do really like what Coach Drinko is doing. I love the physicality that he plays with, that his teams play with. I think obviously it's coming from that Army background. Obviously, defensive coordinators from Army as well. So love seeing what they're doing. I think they're continuing to build a team that's going to be competitive at the MAC. Would love to see Eastern Michigan respond back this year. Funny enough, probably the most listened to episode I've ever done was because of Eastern Michigan, because I predicted them to beat Long Island pretty handily. And it turns out they lost to Long Island, and it turns out Long Island fans probably found my episode. So unfortunately, been on the negative side of Eastern Michigan losing, but I like both of these teams. I like both of these coaching staffs, and I think it'll be a good game these next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anyone can blame you for predicting Eastern Michigan to beat Long Island because the Northeast Conference is the bottom of the barrel of
Yeah.
the scholarship giving conferences. It's even below the IA League, frankly, in terms of competition. But yeah, like I mean, no one could blame you for that, honestly. um,
Yeah, there was no spread. Like that was how big
yeah.
the spread was. There was no spread. I think the books basically said that like it's like 28-point favorites for Eastern, and they end up losing. So can't blame me for that. But don't talk betting or don't do any betting. So just that's how big the favorite Eastern Michigan was that game, and they lost.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm surprised there were even LIU fans to come after you and stuff because I'm like I think out of all the fan bases that are out there in the Northeast Conference, I want to say that Central Connecticut State and Duquesne are probably the most prevalent ones, and Long Island, honestly, like they just kind of
Yeah,
exist, honestly.
yeah,
But yeah, like I mean, no one can blame you. No one can really
no,
blame you. But before we end, Zach, thank you for taking the time. I mean, I'd love to do this again, honestly. Like
oh,
maybe for
absolutely,
like a Game Above Sports bowl preview. I keep calling it the Quick Lane Bowl. I didn't slip I didn't slip the whole podcast. I don't think so.
yeah.
Proud of myself there. But before we finish, um, can you take the time just to promote anything you'd like, shout anyone out, and then we'll close.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Really appreciate that. Really want to quickly shout out you. Really appreciate you having me on. Thank you again. It's been a ton of fun. Would absolutely love to come back on. It's been a ton of fun. Been fun talking with you, getting to know you. I'm sure we'll probably do that going forward. So absolutely would love to be back on. I think you do great work, and this has been really, really fun. Secondly, is if anyone's listening that you've kind of somewhat enjoyed me talking a little bit. Maybe I've been talking a little bit too much, but yeah, it's up on you. My page is up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, just Michigang sports. Basically cover all teams in the state of Michigan. I also interview athletes, coaches. Just a ton of fun, and it's something that I'm really really passionate about. I've had some opportunities to have some really unique individuals, really unique coaches, and just kind of have them talk a little bit about their story, talk a little bit about some rivalry games. And yeah, it's a good time. And then obviously there's like the Detroit Lions, there's Michigan State, Michigan, Eastern Michigan. If you like sports, it's going to be Michigan focused, Michigan centric. But at the end of the day, one of the things I love about doing this type of stuff is we get to tell stories and we get to hopefully impact people's lives. And that's one of my main goals for this, and one of my main goals for jumping on is hopefully I can share a little bit of my knowledge. Hopefully I can have a little bit of fun on the way, and I definitely have. And hopefully whoever listens can be impacted or give their opinions on it. And that's what we're doing, right? Is we're just giving our opinions. We're right, we're wrong. Trust me, I'm probably more wrong than I am right. But at the end of the day, all about is having a passion for what you do. And I think you absolutely do. And I think what you've been doing is great. And I'd love to jump back on. And I can tell that you have a passion for it.
Thank you. I can say the same for you, Zach, too. I mean, as I've been, going through some of your work, it's great. It's great work. It's, and
Thank
like
you.
you said, we're telling people stories where, we're just enjoying, I always say grown men chasing an egg-shaped ball because you cover more than I do. But like I'm just more of a football guy. But yeah, we're these connections, friendships too, and everything. Like I'm
Yeah.
very big on the college football community, and I'm just glad that I was able to extend my community a little bit, and get to know you for this podcast. And I'm already looking forward to the next time
Yeah.
we'll have you on the show. But thanks again, Zach. Really appreciate just being able to make this work on short notice. Excuse me. And again, until next time, everyone, thank you for joining again. Possibly later, hopefully Jackson and I will be able to do a HBCU Legacy Bowl preview. Of course, now Jackson's doing his draft prep and everything. He's getting ready for that. Me, it's gonna take some time just to put the keys in the ignition. Get the car started a bit, and
Yeah.
get back into regular season form for one more game, the last college football game of the season. I just love that we can say that about the HBCU Legacy Bowl. But until next time, everyone, peace, love, and soul in the burger popper, and Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be gracious to you. And goodbye.
Thank you.